Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Beth and this is Beth's Bookish Reviews, and I'm going to wrap up my first semester, my rather long first semester of my DIY literature degree. So at first I was doing romanticism and I was focusing mainly on Jane Austen. My goal was to read all of her main 6 novels. So in February, I read Sense and Sensibility. And this is about 2 sisters, Marianne and Eleanor. And they are each at some point in love. So, yes. Then one is Sensible, and yeah, I don't really remember. So the next one, I don't really remember when I started my little DIY literature degree. This is not the edition I read at the time, but I then read in April, I read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen with Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth, and everybody knows what Pride and Prejudice is about. But I was reading these also for Anne from In Search of Wonder and Charlene from Coffee and a Book's birthday celebration of Jane Austen, her 250th birthday celebration. So then we get to Mary Shelley May, who is also in the romanticism, and I read a couple of poems by some of the romantics. I read To a Skylark by Percy Shelley, The Lamb, the Chimney Sweep by William Blake, and Lucy Gray by William Wordsworth. I read Mortal Immortal by Mary Shelley. The Mary Shelley May is put on by Books Love Jenna, and so that helped me with some reading. But the group read was Mortal Immortal. We were to watch a film adaptation of Frankenstein, and I did. And then this wasn't the edition of this I read. I read the 1818 text, but I described a Frankenstein edition. We were to read something by Mary Shelley, so I was reading Frankenstein again. And then, so that was in May. I had other things on the list, but I just didn't get to everything. Let's see. In June, I read Mansfield Park. And this is about Fanny Price, who goes to live with her aunt and uncle. That's all we're going to say about that one. Then we had Jane Austen July, and I read Emma because that was the group read. I believe that was the group read. Anyway, that's what I read. And I love Emma. Emma is my favorite Jane Austen, with Pride and Prejudice being second. Emma is my favorite female main character that Jane Austen has written, and I just love her. I love her nosiness. I love her matchmaking ways and how she gets into everybody's business. And yeah, I love her relationship with, can't even think of his name right now, Mr. Knightley. And I love Mr. Knightley more than Mr. Darcy, but you know, to each his own. So then also, I did read a fiction book, but I'm not including that one. I also read a nonfiction, and this was for Jenna from Books Love Jenna's book club. So was the fiction book, but I read Jane Austen's Bookshelf. I think everybody and their brother read this, by Rebecca Romney. And this is just like books that Jane Austen would have read or did read. And this author did a fantastic job. She is a antique dealer, a rare book collector, and she did an awesome job researching and finding books that Jane Austen would have read, or did read, actually. So, let's see. I planned a lot more books for this DIY literature degree than I actually did read. And then Jenna did me a wonderful favor. And included 2 nonfiction books about a writer in the Romanticism era. And it was Dorothy Wordsworth, and we read her Grasmere and Alfoxden journals in August. And then we read The Ballad of Dorothy Wordsworth by Frances Wilson. So we learned a lot about Dorothy Wordsworth, and so that was fun. And about this time I was feeling like I wasn't really putting forth a lot of, I wasn't really accomplishing anything for this DIY literature degree. And so I had my readathon, my reading challenge, whatever you want to call it, for Heir of September. And so, that meant I read my wonderful Jane Eyre. So it was time to think really hard about what I was doing with my DIY literature degree, because I was just really reading books. So I'm counting that because it helped me later. And I'm also counting wait a minute. The Life of Charlotte Bronte by Elizabeth Gaskell. Elizabeth Gaskell is such an amazing writer. This was a wonderful biography of Charlotte Bronte that she wrote, and just an amazing read. I just loved it, and I was so glad that I read it. But during that time, I also read I guess I did grab my Frankenstein, but I'm going to use this one for something else. During that month, I also read Persuasion, which I had not previously read. And so, yes. Persuasion is supposed to be closely related to Jane Austen's own romance. And it's about a young lady that has a second chance with a captain in the Navy. Yes. And he had proposed before, and she took advice from somebody and turned him down the first time, and then then I read then I really got into my DIY literature degree. I logged on to ChatGPT and I said, I need help planning a DIY literature degree, and could you help me with this? And these are the kind of books that I want. So we focused on Gothic literature, and I ended up with, well, for Victober, we read Hester by Margaret Oliphant. And this was an amazing read as well. I loved it. It's about a girl named Hester who moves with her mother to stay with their relation, or near the relation. The woman has a house on the property and they stay in it, and the woman also has a bank that she has built from the basically built from the ground up, I would say. And she's providing for them after the husband, father, I believe he died. So then I read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. This was the last book, and this is about Catherine Morland, and she is visiting with a friend of hers, with a friend of the family's, and meets a brother and sister, and I can't remember their names, but anyway, it's kind of a play on the Mysteries of Udolpho. And as I was reading that, I also read The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. And this is about Emily St. Aubert. And I loved this. 5 stars. And then I read North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. But before I went there, I did some close reading and some passages of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So then I read North and South. And then I read Hard Times by Charles Dickens. Loved this. Then I just finished on the 5th, I finished The House of the Dead by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Loved it. And recently like as of like the 8th, I believe, I read a few short stories, about 6 or 7, in Dubliners by James Joyce. I didn't read all of them, and I have thus completed my first semester for my DIY literature degree. I have at least one writing prompt for Northanger Abbey on. So for these books, I have writing prompts. And for the others, I did do like, I don't know. Anyway, so total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's 19 books, but on 2 of them, I only read like 3 scenes in Frankenstein the second time I read it. So I can't count that but once. So that's 18. And then in Dubliners, I only read 7 of the short stories. So I can't count that. So we'll go 17. So I read 17 books, and only one of them am I disappointed in. And so I'd say that was a win. And I will tell you that I have my second semester, even though I have released a video already. I have changed it, I've updated it, and my second semester video is coming out. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go in there to it. On the 16th, and it is called The Haunted Conscience. And so I hope you'll watch that, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And I have been doing a video series called The Haunted Pages for a little while, talking about the books I'm reading. So that is why I didn't go into any big explanation about the books. If you want to, you can catch those. I have just, on the 19th, episode 8 will release, and that is Hard Times. And I will have the others releasing as time goes on. I have to, there are still episodes for The House of the Dead and Dubliners. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from me, please click that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.